Yes. Take yourself off mute.
Hello, everyone. Hello for the third time. It's only Mercury retrograde shadow for sure. I just want to say welcome. Hey, I can tell that the shadow is already happening. I'm tongue twisted and confused, and all kinds of crazy stuff is happening. So, I hope you're catching this live broadcast, and if you're not, you could still actually get some questions answered. We are here to offer readings or question and answer about the astrology, whatever might be on your mind. Let us know what's going on. Did you check out the broadcast? We released it on YouTube earlier today. And so the broadcast is, of course, available for you. So if you're looking for the broadcast, if you want to know the whole week's, it's going to be a pretty emotional week. Let me just say that. Like we have a lot going on this week. So hang in there, everyone. I put the link in the comments, the link to this week's video in case you didn't get it yet. It will be broadcasted more like, to Substack and all of that stuff a little bit later. I didn't have time for all of that today. We had kind of a busy day, but thank you all for tuning in. Hi, Chelsea. Welcome. Hola, Renee. Hola. Um, and we are here to answer questions. Does Charlie need to go outside?
Charlie is definitely indicating that. So I'll be right back.
Okay, so you take care of that. And so anyway, the if you want a reading, I'm going to suggest that you go ahead and post your birth time, date, location, maybe your current location. Hi, Fernando. Um, so, we do astrology readings mostly here on this. We also talk about the astrology weather. I'm just going to say if you have any strong Cancer placements like Cancer rising, Cancer moon, Cancer sun, could be a little bit of a week this week. As well as everybody else, really. I mean, all of us are going to have a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. There's going to be a lot going on this week, and we broke it down for you. If you look at the comments, there's a link in the comments to the YouTube, which helps you understand exactly what's happening this week. And the horoscopes will be out a little bit later, the horoscopes for each sign. So, there's a lot going on with all of this and with the astrology weather right now. And I understand if you're not familiar with that, if you're new to astrology. Welcome back, Red Hawk. If you're new to astrology or something like that, just make sure he doesn't I don't know if those guys are.
No, he stayed inside. He wasn't.
Oh, he just wanted you.
He just wants to play. He wants me to play, and I'm trying to say, nah, not right now, dude.
Right. Okay. Okay.
He's a good boy.
Well, he's doing a Charlie thing. Okay. So anyway, so if you have questions about your astrology chart, like I said, if you put your birth time, date, and location, it will be easier for us. It will be easier for us to do a reading for you. Then we can more easily look at your astrology chart and get a good idea about exactly exactly what your chart says. and then, we can help you, guide you through whatever might be going on for you. A more direct question will get you a more direct answer. So I always say that when doing readings, because I feel like if you just ask for a general, then you're probably going to get general answers. But if you ask a specific question like, what do I do in my career, or where's this relationship going, then I might be able to give you a more specific answer. I'm happy to hear um, your questions about astrology, or your curiosities even. Um, and I'm excited to hear from you, excited to hear about your astrology. I love to hear about other people's, like, where is Taurus for you this week? Chiron will be entering Taurus. So what house is Taurus in for you? Taurus for me, I know, is in the seventh house. Where's your Taurus? What house does it rule? Where in your chart is it? If you don't know how to find out, if you watch the video, the YouTube video, the link in the comments, it will show you exactly how to do that. So, and that's pretty much the astrology's been. It is mostly it's kind of an emotional week, is what I would call it, Bright Hawk. Don't you think?
Well, absolutely. So first I want to say happy new moon. We had a new moon in Gemini. In I think it technically was it's been in the last 24 hours. Now the moon has moved back to home. It's back in Cancer, and the moon is really active this week. So if you're a Cancer rising, if you're a Cancer sun, the moon is your ruler, and you really want to pay attention to what's going on. What you'll see in the forecast for the week is that almost every day the moon is in very significant aspects and amplifying things. So it's a good thing to be aware of. And of course, when we're at the beginning of a new moon cycle, it's an opportunity to set new intentions. It's an opportunity to, assess what it is that you want to try to get done this moon month. And of course, this is the last week of the sun in Gemini. And then, of course, we'll be welcoming June 21st, summer solstice. The sun will move from Gemini into Cancer. And the amplification of the energy that we're seeing this week is significant. So how it relates to you and your chart is very, very important. And of course, when we're looking at charts, it really helps for us to know not just your birthday and location, but your birth time, because your birth time dictates really the housing system. So when we're looking at someone's chart, a birthday it's a start, but without the time and accuracy around the time, you won't have as accurate of an understanding about how things are flavored, because knowing what house it's in is going to really influence how it unfolds.
Well,
So
I
it's
would say,
really
like,
valuable.
the more accurate the time, the more accurate the reading will be.
Absolutely.
Although there are definitely some things that you can definitely see in a chart without really
Sure.
seeing the house system. Like, you can see, oh, you're in your Saturn returns, or or whatever. You can see some things. You won't always know how to apply it, is what happens. So I can
Mhm.
see that you're in your Saturn returns, but I can't see what area of your house, what area of your life that might affect. I can see some details of it depending on your Saturn placement, like what sign it's in, for instance. But I think having the time is helpful. But there are some instances in which people don't have the time for a variety of reasons. If you don't have the time, there is something called rectification, where you can come to me, and you can book with me, and I'll help you. I'll rectify your chart. I have rectified numerous charts professionally, and usually those people are pretty happy with the results. Especially as you get to be like 30 or older, I find it's easier to rectify because then I can base it also on your Saturn returns, which is actually a suggestion by Rick Levine. And if you know anything about astrology, he's a really respected astrologer. And he actually recommends that that be one of the ways that you do rectification, is that you ask them about their Saturn returns, and depending on how that Saturn returns applies, will have a lot to do with how. I mean, Saturn affects everything because it's your system, you know. It's about the system, including, and in your birth chart, it's about your system. Like, how do you function? How does things work for you day to day? What is important to you? What do you value? Where are your boundaries? How do your boundaries work? And that will all be based on where your Saturn is. Saturn will tell us all of that about you. Particularly, it will tell us a lot about your boundaries, which actually tell us a lot about who you are. Some people with stronger boundaries tend to have, like, maybe Saturn in Capricorn, or maybe Saturn in, like, Aries or something. But then people with Saturn in Pisces, or Saturn in Cancer, might have softer boundaries about things. But then somebody with Saturn in Scorpio might be they probably gonna have really sort of harsh or mysterious boundaries. They might be harder to tell exactly where the boundary is. So, oh, Chelsea says that she is a Taurus moon and rising. Whew. Wow,
So
that's a
let's
lot
talk.
of Taurus, Chelsea.
So let's talk a little bit about what's happening with with Taurus this month. This what's unfolding. So we've talked a lot about Chiron, the wounded healer. And Chiron this week is moving out of Aries, where it's been for 8 years, into Taurus. Now, when Chiron moves into Taurus, it's going to be more introspective about value, your value, feeling like you're good enough, feeling um, like you're enough. Taurus is of course, an earth sign. It's, of course, a fixed sign. It is luxury and finances and the good things in life and worth, things that you value. And when Chiron goes there and the internal part of we turn inside, Chiron and Taurus, the kind of the big question is, am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I enough? Period. We all get challenged in different ways, and this is true. Everyone's going to experience Taurus in a different way. Sorry, Chiron and Taurus in a different way. The thing to know is that Chiron, obviously, it impacts all of us, and it's going to be in Taurus for the next 8 years. But
Well,
what's going to happen is that Chiron's going to move into Taurus, and it's going to travel forward until September 17th. And then it's going to retrograde and go back over the same area. Chiron spends a lot of time. It's a different orbit than it's not a particularly cylindrical orbit. It's a more elliptical orbit. So its time in each sign is different. It's not equally measured. So it spends the least amount of time in Libra, like a year and a half, and it spends the most amount of time, about 8 years, in Aries and Taurus. So we're all going to feel it for quite a while, and it will bring up different things for different folks, again, based on what house is that sitting for you. So for Chelsea, Taurus moon and Taurus rising, without looking at your chart, I guess, Hollis, you could look at their chart, being aware of the fact, especially if that's 12th house, more, if the Taurus is more in the 12th house and less in the first house, the 12th house, let's talk about that for a second. The 12th house is the house of the occult. It's the house of self-sabotage. It's literally our blind spot. Like we can't see what's in the 12th house, generally speaking. Think of the first house as the house of self, right? So this is, and you're very aware of your house of self, but at the same time, when the 12th house is stuff is going on in the 12th house, we tend to have this blind spot. Like, where did that come from? Or how come I didn't see that? Or what am I missing? 12th house energy. 12th house can also be the house of self-sabotage. And is it also hidden enemies? I think so.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
it can be challenging. Now, thanks for sharing her chart. The moon is in the first house. So that's, again, first house is our identity, our self, our personal, our physical self, um, and identity issues, generally speaking. And you have Jupiter retrograde in Aries in the 12th. So,
so what would happen here, Bright Hawk, I think, is that it would mostly affect her rising and her moon there. But we would also need to look at where Venus is to give us a hint
yes.
about what it might look like. So that's like one of the things that you do there is you look. Oops, it looks like that thing is in the banner is in the way.
Yeah,
Okay, so where is Venus at? Okay, no, it's not there. Venus. Oh, I
there
see
it
it now.
is in
Mm-hmm.
Sag.
Mm-hmm. So,
Venus in Sag in the house of relationships in the 7th house.
yeah. So
So interesting. So Venus in Sag means that it's um, answering to Jupiter, which is retrograde in Aries, also in a fire sign. And looks like, is that part of the mystic rectangle? You have
Jupiter, not quite. Mm-mm.
no,
A little bit,
it's
a
the
little bit,
nodes, the
a little
nodes, the
bit.
moon, and
There is another mystic
Saturn is the,
rectangle.
yeah,
There's a lot, but it's a pretty big orb between Jupiter and Chiron, but it's kind of technically her second mystic rectangle. Um, but what I would say is that right now Chiron is sort of pushing on that Jupiter in Aries. So whatever you've been messing around with for the last 7, 8 years, Chelsea, that's going to be coming to an end, and the story is going to move more into relationships. So I don't know what you've been struggling with or working with, but it's going to speak more to your relationships. It's going to speak more to maybe long distance relationships. Maybe you don't have a relationship, I don't know. But with the moon there, I would suspect that it's also going to speak to emotional relationships. And then we have to consider also that the North Node is moving out of Pisces and into Aquarius, which speaks to her 10th and ninth, her 10th and 11th house. And then also she has the South Node is moving into Leo down there in the fourth house. So that speaks to home. It also speaks to your childhood and things like that. So I would imagine that you have quite a bit going on, Chelsea. It's definitely not a quiet time for you. I would not say it's quiet. I would say that some of the your mystic rectangles are definitely sort of being stirred, is what I would call that. um, they're definitely being stirred. Um, oops,
is that
yeah, it's downstairs. Um, so yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot of different things you need to consider. A lot of transits happening for you at the same time, Chelsea. Chelsea says, I've been struggling with my identity and career, trying to get to know myself and remember what I love. I feel disconnected with myself. I bet you do, Chelsea. And that has a lot to do with the 12th house, I feel like, because the 12th house Chiron's been in there a while, and I feel like it speaks to the unseen and our own personal self-sabotage. So that's the thing about the 12th house is that it often speaks to like the part of us that we don't see. And I have a lot of experience with it because I have four planets there. You have Jupiter retrograde there. So that means that you have quite big energy in there. But it's in Aries, so it makes me feel like you probably sometimes sabotage yourself very quickly, particularly by saying no suddenly to things, saying no first before actually exploring something, um, being like just sort of like, no, I don't want to do that. Not being not always being open to different ways of like just kind of anything. You may not be real keen to sort of jump on new ideas because Jupiter's retrograde. Your belief system might be that like if you don't know about it or understand it, you might not want to do it or something like that. Those kinds of things. You have some sort of personal self sabotage that I'm talking about here. There's some way that you are sabotaging yourself. Maybe sometimes you go too quickly towards things in an overindulgent way and you don't stay focused. That could also be happening.
So I just want to say that Chiron, your Chiron is in Gemini in the second house. And so second house always speaks to values your and Chiron is always going to speak to our wounds, right? So it really has to do with insecurity around intellect, ideas, communication, because Gemini is there. It's going to flavor communication. And it ties into your mental worth and your financial security. So there's that feeling of like, do I have enough? Am I enough? That kind of thing that we keep talking about. And of course, what Chiron is always asking us to do is learn, understand, get bigger to be better. That all of us require self-reflection at times. And then out of that, if you stay there too long, right, what happens? We kind of spiral down sometimes. So being willing to sit with yourself and whatever that insecurity is that might be coming up. It doesn't necessarily have to be Chelsea. I'm talking generally right now. All of us have insecurities. All of us have spots where we're like, oh, don't look at me. I don't want you to see that. And that's understandable because we're vulnerable and we feel like, oh no, if you see that part of me, you're going to reject me or whatever it is. Chiron is always asking us, okay, so you have that insecurity or that wound or that problem. You can still go forward. You can do this anyway. And it's like, it's not about getting rid of it. It's about learning from it and then being able to move forward anyway. The first time I ever did, actually, I think it might have been the only time I did, I did a fire walk. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, walking on fire, but lots of folks have done it in workshop settings and what have you. And it was a special invitation, and a friend of mine was the facilitator, and I was playing my African drum and helping really raise the energy. And the whole way that you are able to be successful in walking on fire. And of course, the coals are hundreds of degrees, 400 degrees or some crazy number. I don't remember, big bonfire. And then it all gets raked out. And, there's it is a pathway that everybody is cheering for each other. And the way you do it is your energy has to be as big and bold as the fire energy. And once you get that vibrational elevation, you can walk on that fire and nothing will happen. I walked it multiple times actually, and I played my drum as well, the second or third time through. But it's all about raising your frequency to meet the energy and then go through anyway. That's kind of what Chiron, I feel like, asks us to do. It's like, yeah, you're going to have fear. We all do. And do it anyway. Like making ourselves secure enough and vibrationally meet the moment. It's really, to me, it's about that vibrational piece. And that's where it teaches us so much about we can do more than we ever imagined. We are bigger than we imagine. We're better than we imagine. We're more capable than we imagine. And it's usually a test, and life is testing us all the time, friends, that reveals, wow, I'm actually stronger than I thought I was. Wow, I didn't know I could do that. Wow, I was really afraid to do that and I did it anyway. I'm so glad I did. That's what Chiron asks us, to meet that moment and move through it. And then the revelations come and you'll keep realizing, oh, this is that thing that actually defines a part of me and helps me know when I can meet this and go for it, in the proverbial go for it energy, that you can really do things that you didn't know were possible. And when I realized, for me, I have a lot of fire. I have a Sag sun, I have a Leo moon, and I realized that the times where I've taken really big swings in life, most of those times I was successful. And the regrets that I have are almost always about, I didn't take the swing. I probably could have succeeded. I probably could have done this, that, or the other, but I didn't. I stopped myself. I sabotaged myself. I kept myself from doing something because I told myself a story about they don't want it or whatever.
Yep.
And that's really, this is what I feel like astrology really helps us understand, is like, oh, those spots, those stripes, those freckles, those things, they're part of me. Stop trying to rub them out, and the sooner we accept them and realize, oh, that's actually one of my gifts, is being bold and outrageous, in my case. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps you feel like, oh, okay. And the goal here is to help you understand how to work with these energies. And that's frankly what makes a reading so powerful, is that you start to understand, when we look at Mercury, what house is it in? What sign is it in? How do we communicate? We look at Venus, how we do our relationships. We look at Mars, how we take action, how we fight. When we look at Saturn, it tells us a tremendous amount about how we operate in the world and our work in the world. Oh,
all
good.
right.
Chelsea.
Well, it sounds like
Chelsea's.
Sounds like Chelsea's resonating with what I said and what you said, Bright Hawk. She said, yes, I've been thinking back. It missed opportunities because of self-doubt or just being in survival mode. I'm ready for a change. And she's been thinking back and missed opportunities because of self-doubt. So let me just say, that's the Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house. Just being in survival mode. Like I have looked very closely at this placement. Now yours is in Aries. I know someone else that happens to have it in Sagittarius, I think it is. So it's actually in its ruling sign in hers. And let me just say that she does the same exact thing. She says no before she even knows what she's talking about. I've watched her do it. She sabotages her own thing. Hey, Bright Hawk, you want to get Alyssa's birth time and put
I
that
was
in?
just gonna say, yeah, I didn't want to
Okay.
interrupt, but yeah, I'm
So
gonna work on Alyssa. So Alyssa, stay with us, and I
Alyssa,
will
stay
work on
here.
bringing that chart.
Stay here. Bright Hawk's going to put it in the software, in the astrology software. And let me just say that Chelsea, like, the thing is that it seems to be part of who you are, but usually with retrogrades we overcome them with age. Now she's much younger than you, so let me just say you got a big foot ahead of her. so so you're probably overcoming it, you're probably realizing it, that like you just kind of like, it's probably very like instinctual, or almost like a reflex. So people say you want to go do this and you're like, no, no, no. And then that ends up being, you're like, I probably should have went to that. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of experiences, Chelsea, are probably, unfortunately, part of what's sort of setting you up like that. Okay, so that's what Chiron's probably speaking to, both in, especially in Aries, and as it moves into Taurus, you'll see the healing, but you probably won't completely be able to heal it until later. And you'll be able to find healing over the next year or so. It's a long transit. So take your time, go easy on yourself. Don't try to force it. That's the thing about this Chiron transit, is it's a long transit. It's going to take 8 years in Taurus. Okay, 8 years. So go easy on yourself. It's not something you do in one night. This is not something you can just throw together and overcome tomorrow. That's, it's not like that. It's this is a life challenge, as I say. We all have life challenges. It's written in your chart. So if you want to know what your life challenge is, I suggest that you do what Alyssa here did. She put her birthday and time and place. And Alyssa, I'm pretty sure that Brighthawk's about to bring up your chart here. So Alyssa, hopefully you're still with us. And Alyssa, are you still here? And we're going to take a look at her chart and help her understand maybe how Chiron, or if she hasn't, Alyssa, if you have any specific questions, now would be a good time to post those so we can take a look at your chart. I'm pretty sure that Brighthawk's probably got it up here now. So great, Alyssa's still with us. Good. So Alyssa, if there's any special part you'd like us to look at, I mean, we could sit here and talk about your chart for hours, but we don't have that kind of time. And when you book with us, when you book with either one of us, you get, you get full attention recorded 1 hour reading. But right now we're just going to take a quick look at it. And in case you didn't know, we have a broadcast. If you look up in the comments, there's a link to a YouTube video in which is this week's forecast. And later on, if you're subscribed to this channel, you'll also get the horoscopes in reels. So I'll also post those for each sign, and you should look at your sun, moon, and rising. So we'll at least take a look at that for you and let you know what those are, because the sun, moon, and rising is pretty much, when you look at a horoscope, that's what you should be looking at. You should be looking at your sun, moon, and rising. Okay. Alyssa said, basically, I'm just feeling lost as I lost my mom in 2020. I'm sorry to hear that. And then my dad in 23. Ouch. And then my sister in 24. That sounds really hard. So since then, I feel like I'm walking in a dream. Well, wow, that's really hard, Alyssa. And right away, I start to think, a cosmic death chart reading would be really helpful for you. That's a specialized reading that I do, where I look at the birth and death of someone you love and help you understand the death of people and why that's happening to you. But we'll look at it at your chart overall and help you understand what all of this is going on, what all this is happening, why is this happening, and why now. Um,
Okay,
so
so
first
the
of all,
first, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, first of all, most of the time, the nodes are connected to death and loss. And the South Node is in your fourth house, and has been for the last couple of years, which explains your father, and even your sister when it was in the, or because it's a lot of times the fourth house, which is down here at the bottom, you can see Pluto and Uranus is there. I bet you all of the deaths that happened were sudden and a surprise. They probably came out of nowhere. And with Pluto retrograde, you were probably not experienced at dealing with death. I'm sure that has created a lot of discourse for you, a lot of emotional sort of instability, I guess is the best way to say it. More so than the average person, maybe because you've had lots of experiences, because you've had 3 experiences since 2020, but also because with Pluto opposite the moon like that, that creates the moon is at 15 degrees, the moon is at Pluto is at 20 degrees, which is about Pluto rules death, transformation, change, rebirth. And you can see at the bottom there, Pluto is this little red one here that has it's red number 20. It's in this green sign. This is known as Virgo. So hopefully you can see my little arrow. I'm not sure if she can see my arrow. Um, and so Chiron and Pluto are there, and they're conjunct. Um, and the two of them are in the fourth house. So this is your house of parents, childhood home, and things like that, which of course would speak to your sister and your parents, and things of that kind of nature. And it would speak to like um everything that has to do with your past. So I'm sure there's probably lots that you're having to deal with. I'm sure that there's a lot, not just like losing your parents, but also like topics that have to do with that. Okay. Um, and then with the moon in Pisces, um, the moon is opposite over here. You can see the moon up here opposite. And right now we're having a major there's what we call the nodes um in opposite signs here. Um and they keep their opposite of things. Um and they so when they're in opposite like that, it means that you get drawn to one way or the other, and you basically like sort of feels like, you know. And I mean, I think death can be death is hard, period. Um, and
So
at the same
I just can't help but notice that in conjunct from the Pluto Uranus, the in conjunct to the North Node, which is conjunct Saturn. Saturn represents father. And you have a sextile to Neptune, and you said you feel like you're walking around in a dream. Neptune is about dream. But what I notice is that your Neptune is retrograde, which means when Neptune is retrograde, we have to be really careful with delusion, of fooling ourselves or falling for things or not seeing things clearly. So the sextile always is a favorable aspect. Trines and sextiles are always considered favorable energy. And in conjuncts, that green line is 150 degrees. It's not an opposition, it's 150 degrees. So I find that just the choice of words that you said, and remember astrology, when we're looking at it, it's always it emphasizes certain themes in a multitude of ways. So when we look at the fourth house is family. You have Pluto and Uranus there. Both are retrograde, surprise, revolution, and change, pointing to the North Node with Saturn conjunct. North Node is our destiny. In conjuncts our fated energy. It pulls us in a way where we don't even understand why. So that Aries energy is gonna Aries is always gonna want us to take action because it's ruled by Mars. Um, but Saturn can sometimes be a throttle, right? So Saturn is generally tends to contract, whereas Jupiter tends to expand, right? And so a lot of times when we talk about Saturn, we talk about father, we talk about um, taskmaster, we talk about authority, our relationship to um, uh, authority, uh, things of that nature. So I find that piece of your chart and the aspects and the way they're talking to each other very interesting. And of course, you have Chiron right there at the very tippy top of your chart, in Aries, which it has been. So this period of time for you, while it has no doubt been really tough, and I feel you. I had a similar experience where 3 family members in 6 months, you barely caught your breath from one and the next one and then the next one, and you're just like, what is going on? And those are huge moments in life. And usually while we're going through it, we don't exactly see what the bigger picture is. But then as you start to get that little bit of space and time, it's not that you get over these things. You don't. You get used to them. You learn. You again learn to walk with that pain instead of try to push it away. And so I
Um,
hope all of that feels like that's helpful.
Alyssa,
Well, good.
I want to add, Alyssa, that I was doing the math about when your I think it was the first person that passed in 2020, your mom, which I knew was a female. That would have a lot to do with that Neptune there in your sixth house, which is the one that's retrograde that Bright Hawk was talking about. It kind of looks like a three-pronged fork there, and it's in that house that says the number 6 there. Okay, and you can see it's got a red line going all the way over to a Venus looking symbol, which usually means women in our lives. And this makes me think, like, have you you should be trying to do like third eye activation, mediumship. You should
Hmm.
be trying to connect to
Sounds
the
like a good
other
idea.
side.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should
yeah.
be working on things like meditation, spirituality, stuff
Mm,
like that, especially with Neptune in the sixth house there.
mm.
I'm not sure if you're seeing that or not. So I'm not sure if
And
you've actually done that. So I'm just
and
asking.
that's where I just want to emphasize what Hollis is saying. Here's that theme again. Because your moon is in Pisces, Pisces is like one of the most spiritual and intuitive and insightful signs in terms of, you know, being aware of like I would bet with the Pisces moon that when you go into a room, you can tell who's feeling what. And like you're drawn to certain people because you can resonate with the way they're feeling or not. Just a guess. But your Pisces moon, it's definitely going to tell you, follow your intuition, follow your gut instincts. And I love the idea of yeah, grief will get in the way. And this is where let's go ahead and put up. If you do not know, Hollis does a wonderful, wonderful training program that's really, really, really helpful if you're like, yeah, I want to be more on my spiritual path, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this works. Mystics Academy is a great, incredible value. If you sign up this month, you get a free reading with Hollis, which will give you so many different things to start your path with.
And I would suggest a cosmic grief reading. I'm just saying, at least one, start with one for one person. Maybe you start with your mom, one person that you've lost, because those cosmic grief readings will help you with your grief. That's
Right,
what they're for. They look
right.
at the death, the birth. So I need your mom's birthday, your your mom's death day, and your birthday, and we bring them all together. I'm the only person in the world that does these readings, and I help you understand the death so that way you can find closure, like a spiritual grief type of closure, so that, and I you
Mhm.
can look it up on Google. Go look up Hollis Taylor Divine Androgen. If you look up my website, you will see that I have tons of reviews directly about those readings. I'm kind of known for it. It's what I
It's
do.
really,
If you
yeah,
happen to be in my mediums group, you can search them in there. People tell you about how they've healed years grief. They've been suffering with grief for years and years and years. And then we look at that astrology. We take an hour or so and do that. And then it might take you some time after that to process, but people have changed the way they view death by experiencing that reading. Okay. And
I've
that's why
seen
I'm
it with my own
suggesting it
eyes.
too.
It's profound. It's really
Yeah.
profound. And
Yeah.
I thank you for validating what I suspected, that people with it, when you have a Pisces moon, you're going to feel other people. And knowing how to work with that, Hollis is a great mentor to have on this, can really help you open up your third eye and hold your boundaries when you're like,
Mhm.
I don't want to feel the whole world. I just need to be with me. It's
In
really
fact,
valuable skill.
this month, if you join at the Mystics level at Patreon for 37.77, if you join there, it's actually tomorrow night, we're getting together and we're talking about how to tell when something is more of anxiety and when you're like
Right.
obsessively thinking versus when it's intuition, and how to tell the difference, and also like the meaning of symbology and things like that that you might be getting during your meditation, or when you're connected, when you're trying to reach out to your spirit guides. What do those symbols and such mean? Or maybe you got signs from your mom, or you get a dream about your mom and she says something weird, like, or you get a dream about her and there's a bunch of birds sitting on her or something like that. So all kinds of weird things come through, and so I can help you interpret that kind of thing. That's exactly what we're doing tomorrow night on Zoom. The link is for the Mystics tier. You also have a couple of classes available for astrology, and this is what we'll be doing every month. And this month, because it's June, everybody gets a free reading. Okay, so you get a free
Great
reading.
value.
Yeah, yeah,
Incredible
it's a great
value.
night. Mhm. Yeah, you'll never get a cosmic grief reading for $37 ever again. Because usually they're about $100, about 88 or something like that.
Thanks so much
Because
for sharing your chart with us, Alyssa. It's a
yeah,
fascinating thing to be able to do. So I'm so glad.
and I'm gonna
Oh,
say I could
hi
already see
from,
the transits in there. I can already see the
yeah,
transit. Mhm.
yeah.
Indonesia, huh?
Wow. I want to say, is it good morning in Indonesia? I imagine your time is not the same as us halfway
Oh, I'm
around
sure
the
it's
world.
not, yeah.
Blessings. So if you want
Yeah.
to get a chart reading, and if you have specific questions, like Hollis always says, you ask specific questions, you'll get a more specific answer. And what we need, if you want us to look at your chart, is your birth time, your date, and the location. And then also give us the location of where you are now. So if we need to look at the current transits, we can throw that in. These are just meant to be
Mhm.
just little snippets, not a full blown what you get if you sign up for an hour long reading, of course. But hopefully it gives you some insight and an opportunity to understand just a little bit better how you do you, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we're all unique individuals. I think that's the most beautiful thing about astrology, is that when you start to learn astrology and practice astrology on a day-to-day basis, you start to realize that while we're all connected via these stars, these planets, these zodiac, And while we all have a little Sagittarius in us, while we all have a little Scorpio or Aquarius, we all have a little bit of something in our chart. We have all of the zodiac in our chart. Some
That's
of
right.
us just have some of those signs more amplified than others. That's
Yeah.
all. And let me just say that the astrology chart also tells you not only how you're connected to others, but it also tells you how uniquely you are, and
That's
how
right.
unique you are, and how special you are, and what special thing you have to bring to the world. And what is this gift that you're bringing? And the universe wants has a special task for you. Your soul signed up for something. There's a reason you're here, I assure you. It's in your chart, and people sometimes underestimate that. And I think that that actually makes you depressed if you don't know why you're here. And if you're just sort of
Mm,
floating through life, I feel like it leaves life a little bit meaningless, or empty. And I feel like if you understand why you're here, even though that might not be your focus every day, there is a reason you're alive. There is a reason you're here. There is a reason why you are alive. And there's a reason you're connected to certain people. There's a reason those people are in your life, even the ones that drive you crazy, even the ones you have to kick out of your life. All of those people are important. And I can help you understand that. That's what synastry is for. We have a special type of astrology. Bright Hawk can look at your astrology chart and help you understand why you're here, what you're doing, and understand those freckles. Why do I do that? Those kinds of things, and that's that. And there's a power in having your chart read. And let me just say, you can have your chart read once, but you can have it read by the same astrologer a couple times. They might repeat a few things, but a lot of things will be
yeah.
different each time they read, because I know I could spend a couple of hours talking about one chart, right? I mean, I could spend
So
a long
easy.
time. Yeah, it's very easy to just spend lots of time
Matter of fact,
talking
this
about that.
hour has just gone like this.
Right, right.
And,
Yeah, so
right?
yeah, it doesn't take very long. It can take it takes a long time to really exhaust a chart. And I would say that, like, astrology is powerful, it's deep, and it really helps you understand who you are. Helps you
Yeah.
understand, why do I always do that? Helps you understand, why do people think that about me? Why do people see that in me? Why do people, when you have those kinds of experiences, well, there's a reason for that. So, I just want to say, and when people die in your life,
Mm,
there's a reason for that.
yeah.
Everybody has to die sometime, but why did they die then? And
Mm,
why during this experience? And I think that that is important part of the process, right? Like, I think that that's like why people I think that's one of the most powerful things about astrology altogether. I mean, it's just powerful. It's enough
yeah.
to empower you, to help you feel like, now I know why I'm here. I understand why these things are happening to me. It doesn't
Right.
always make those things easier to navigate. When I found out crap about my heart, having to do the surgery again, yeah, I knew the astrology was there. Like, Uranus and Gemini. Gemini is the king of doing it twice, right? Like, that's the twin, right? So of course you have to do it twice, Hollis. And of course you didn't think of that when you were looking at this transit. Like, I knew Uranus was entering my house of surgery. I knew it was entering Gemini, but I didn't think that I would have to do it twice. I just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't cross my mind, even though that's exactly what it means. And it went in there, and when that happened, I was like, it didn't make it easier. It didn't. But it did give me a place to land eventually. As I
Yeah.
healed, as I processed it, it eventually gave me Okay. Well, it's in the astrology. As hard as it is, you're the first one, because I have Aries health placements, and then I'm like, okay, and I started to make sense of it when I was ready to put it down, when I was ready to heal and really feel healing about it. That's why the cosmic grief reading that I was telling you about, Alyssa, is only good after, like, it's not good like the first month after the person died. Like, it's just not. Like, I've had a woman came to me, for instance, and she got a cosmic grief reading against I usually say mediumship is better for the first 6 months at least, okay? And so she came to me and she wanted a cosmic grief reading because everybody was ranting and raving about it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, but I don't think you should have it until, it's been like 6 months, but I'll do it. And I did it, and I recorded it and I sent it to her. And then I wasn't sure even during the reading that she was taking it all in, but it's her reading, it's her choice. And she said about a year later, she was still suffering with a lot of grief. And she came across it by accident on her computer, the recording, and she was trying to clean up her computer and she came across it by accident. So she played the replay and she realized how right I was, because then she could process more of what I was saying.
Yeah.
More of
Yeah.
what I was saying was making sense. And now she was able to apply a lot of what I said. She actually came back for a second one on the same death. It was her husband, so it was very difficult for her. And I helped her understand and helped her process it. It was actually her husband and then her son. So it was kind of
Mhm.
two deaths. And I helped her process this time in her life in a better way. And then so it was like a year and something later. But I'm just saying that, it takes a little while to process emotions. And I'm not saying astrology is a quick pill for a rough time. I'm just saying that it gives you a place to land that makes sense, that's
Yeah.
logical, that
Yeah.
helps you understand life and gives it more meaning, and takes away the mystery or the feeling of victimhood, of feeling like you are a victim of the world or victim of life.
Mhm.
And that in itself, I think, is a gift, and I think we all could say that. If we could all
Yeah.
remove the victim of life, like, because a lot of us, I know before astrology, I used to often think I was a victim of life, and I used
Mm.
to wonder, why is this happening to me? I mean, I grew up in a rough home, I had a rough childhood, I had a rough 20 something, and I thought, I guess it's just me, I'm cursed or something. I used to think that there must be something really screwed up about me, that like toxic people, target me or something. What's going on? Why does this happen? Now it turns out that they were just honing in my way. Yeah, I bet you do, Chelsea. A lot of people do. And that actually speaks to your Chiron. Okay. And so, like, what happened was I realized over time that it was actually teaching me skills on how to see a toxic person a mile away. Why? Well, I'm going to need that skill later in life. And I do. I still need it to this day. And sometimes you need to be able to see or feel or sense a toxic person from across the room. And it got me through my 20s, and I honed in that skill, and I still have that skill to this day. And
Yeah.
I'll flag a toxic behavior pretty immediately.
Yeah.
See it. So I'm just saying that, when that crap happens, I'm not saying it's good or it's right, or even that you're supposed to have it. I'm just saying that when it happens, it's often in your chart, and often it is sort of shining. It's sort of like trying to hone in a sharp edge so that you have it. So I understand that, Chelsea. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm happy to go into it. In in a reading, we could talk about that feeling of feeling cursed. And if anyone else feels that way, I definitely struggled with that. And astrology helped me really truly put that away. But I had to be
Yeah.
willing to put that away. You
Yeah.
have to be willing to to let go of that victimhood. So if
Yeah.
you're willing to let go of the victimhood, there is a way. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And all I can keep thinking of the word is resilience, that we don't develop resilience without being tested and tried and all the tribulations we all go through. And it's as we come through those things that we start to realize, oh, I have some resilience now. And that literally is the part of age is wisdom. We, over time, hopefully, if we're paying attention and learning as we go, the experience helps us develop wisdom. And isn't that the goal? And it's just fascinating to me how much astrology can help us land, help give us direction, help us understand when the surf is up, why the surf is up, how to ride the surf. And you can tell I grew up in Southern California. Surf's up.
Hey, and make sure you check out the link in the comments is this week's forecast. So make sure you listen in.
Right.
It will help you get ready for this week. It's definitely going to be an emotional roller coaster this week. So I want you guys to be ready. So go ahead and listen to that. Look out for your horoscopes. Catch me on Substack. Catch my Substack. I'll post that probably in the next 24 hours along with the reels for the horoscopes, and catch us every week here on Monday nights, answering your questions, looking at your birth chart, and helping you navigate these energies.
Thanks so much for spending this hour with us. We've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I just want to give a special shout out to Alyssa and Chelsea, especially. You guys are great. I wish you the very, very best. We're giving you big hugs, much love, and thanks for listening to Rainbow Soul Astrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. We hope you have a great week, everybody. Much love.